Uh, Today we are talking about the technological bottlenecks. So we would like to focus on the impact of the co-firing on the combustion performance, including a specific change of the process from the transportation up to the combustion and boiler. In the previous webinars, we tried to identify the main technological bottlenecks. So we said that the main bottlenecks are existent in a transportation and storage, where the main effect is the blocking due to the low density of the biomass. The second is the safety issues regarding to the fire and explosions, especially for the raw agro biomass, that it is much more easier to initiate the ignition and explosion comparing to the coal. Another bottleneck is the preparation in terms of milling. If we consider the pulverized combustion, pulverized boiler, so the milling is a very crucial point, very crucial part of the fuel preparation. So the main bottlenecks, except of another explosions, is the inefficient milling, and it is due to biomass properties, let's say overally. Also, the important bottleneck is exists in the combustion chamber. It is ash-related issues and corrosivity. However, we just present such an issue in the previous presentation. The reason is the high chlorine, sodium, and potassium content in the biomass. If we consider the bottlenecks from the another point of view, means from technical and technological, we can also point some, let's say, the main impacts of the different processes on the technological and technical bottlenecks. If we consider the storage, so we distinguish between the impact of weather conditions, but also process of dusting and self-ignition. If we consider the transportation, the main, let's say, phenomena is related to the lower biomass density, as well as the previous underscored dusting and ignition and explosion. In milling is the main process who influence on the let's say bottlenecks. So it is the grinding properties in terms of fuel, especially we compare the coal with the biomass if we consider co-firing. And combustion, these bottlenecks come from the differences in the fuel properties, especially the volatile matter content, and its influence of such parameters as boiler energy efficiency in overall sense. But also we would like to show some particular things about that, and also ash related issues, as you already know from the previous presentation. Also, for your imagination, we want to show where we are in the process. We distinguish between the few process chains in the co-firing, so from the fuel storage by transportation, intermediate tanks, milling, and combustion chamber. We can identify the different bottlenecks, and we would like to show you such examples of such bottlenecks in the real process. Also, it depends on the kind of preparation and kind of let's say combustion scenario. As you remember from the previous presentations, we consider the different scenario of co-firing. One of them is if we consider the application of the raw biomass in the in the form of ballots is just co-firing of the raw biomass, but we identify one necessary thing. That means that we have to have a specific preparation system. Nevertheless, the one of the main bottlenecks on the biomass storage side is related with the dusting and self-ignition, especially for raw biomass, and especially if the volume of the biomass is quite big, so the self-ignition probability increase. Another bottlenecks, if we consider the transportation, is the blocking due to the low bulk density of the biomass. However, sometimes forgotten is the impact of impurities. It is mainly for the raw biomass. It is very obvious and the normal situation that this biomass can not always, but can include some impurities like soil, like a sand, or even the rocks or concrete, or even the parts of machine. If some accidents, so we have to put attention on impurities also if we consider the application of the raw biomass or just simple processed biomass. The another point is fragmentation and milling, and also we identify bottlenecks related with the blocking and decreasing of the milling efficiency. Also, the air explosions are possible. And the bottlenecks, finally, the bottlenecks in the boiler related with the ash-related issues, but also some process parameters like a temperature distribution inside combustion chamber and steam parameters, especially the temperature of steam. The second scenario, just to remind you, we consider the simple mixing with the coal, the main fuel, with the pelletized biomass. The advantage of such solution is that we don't need a specific transportation system. Nevertheless, if we consider the same chains, we identify kind of bottlenecks related with also dusting and self-ignition. Nevertheless, for pelletized biomass, the dusting and self-ignition probability is lower comparing to the raw biomass. In such solution, the main bottlenecks is the capacity, in fact, because we identify in such solution we can increase the biomass share up to 15 mass% if we apply the pellets, and up to 10% if we consider briquettes. We cannot increase more the biomass share due to some technological problems or limitations. Similar to the previous one with fragmentation and milling is an issue of the efficiency, explosions. In boiler, the same probable, let's say, the bottlenecks is related with the ash-related issues and change of the temperature distribution. But also we would like to underscore the challenges related with the limitation in the biomass share. And the first scenario, when we try to apply pelletized biomass, but we assume that we have existed specific transportation chain. So we also can say about some dusting and self-ignition problems, but the probability is much more lower comparing to the raw biomass, especially if we have the specific transportation and storage equipment like silos with the specific detection system. The probability of self-ignition or fires, explosions are much more lower, even though it is still possible. And similar problems related with the fragmentation and the boiler, depending on the biomass properties and biomass share.